Hello, everyone, and welcome to Body Bags. I am your host, Lonnie from Horror Heaven77. Of course, if you would please, check out my channel, subscribe, all that good fun stuff and everything. Good videos, I promise, good content. If you love horror, you're gonna love my channel. Anyway, so let's get moving on. Yeah, I just picked this up here just a little while ago from the store, and I just got finished watching it. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk about Child's Play 2019, and I got to be honest. This movie was not the disaster I thought it was going to be. Now, I remember way back when they first announced it. Honestly, when I heard that there was going to be a Child's Play remake and stuff, normally I would try to give remakes a chance, and but this was one I just felt like you could skip it because I love the Child's Play franchise. The whole, it's like to me, Brad Dourif is, always will be Chucky, and that still holds true. I don't think you. I really didn't think you could improve on it in any way. But anyway, but ultimately, this is one of those kind of movies that's like it really does not intrude upon the original movie. You could still watch this, and you could still enjoy the original franchise for what it is. And I think that's kind of the best way to go with something like this, is to make something. Even though one complaint I have about this is like instead of that's the thing, they keep in this movie, when you watch this version, they keep saying buddy, buddy, buddy all the time. I think it would have been better if instead of Chucky, they should have just left it as Buddy and kind of just make this its own character rather than, try to make this Chucky because, Chucky is iconic. It's like we know Chucky, Brad Dourif, he pretty much took over that role and owned it for all these years. And he's still doing it because we're supposed to have a TV series coming out next year and things like that, and Brad Dourif still doing the voice and everything. So I think that would have probably been my one thing I think would have been better is instead of just trying to make another Chucky, that if they could have just made this Buddy and just kind of like made its own character out of it. But altogether, this movie was really not bad. The story is pretty similar to the original movie. You got Karen and her son Andy. Karen played by Aubrey Plaza, who, okay, guys, I'll indulge you. Yes, Aubrey Plaza is so hot. She's so hot. Okay, we're gonna move on now. Anyway, so she plays Karen and her son Andy. They just moved to town, and Andy, we find out, he's a bit of an outsider. He feels insecure because he has to wear a hearing aid and things like that, and he doesn't have an easy time of making friends and things like that. And his mom Karen, she's working in a toy store, and she's kind of trying to figure out what to do with her son, and she's struggling trying to make ends meet. She's dating this guy. It turns out this guy is kind of a jerkwad to Andy, and we find out also too that like she's dating this guy, but he's married and all this other kind of stuff. And so she's kind of like dealing with a lot of stress and things going on in her life. And so at one point she finds this doll that was actually, tampered with so that, that the security function on him would not work. And so, she asks her boss, can she just go ahead and have the doll? She doesn't have the money to pay for it, and when he's all like, no, I can't just give you the doll, she kind of threatens him with, well, what if I tell your wife about the affair you're having with this girl and stalking? And so he's okay, fine. So he gives her goes in and lets her have the doll and everything. And she gives it to Andy as a present. And at first he's not particularly thrilled with it, but then he starts realizing that like it's not just a doll, that in this version, Chucky he's more of a robot. He's, like artificial intelligence, and, he can like plug him in, you could upload things to him and imprint on him and everything so that Chucky would basically stay his friend and pretty much be a loyal friend to Andy, forever. So, yeah, but the big difference between this one and the originals, in the original one, Chucky had more of a personality because, Chucky was actually the soul of Charles Lee Ray, the Lakeshore Strangler. So, you had Brad Dourif already had that character and added that to Chucky. Whereas in this movie, Chucky starts off, he's very devoid of personality. There's nothing to him except what he's programmed to do. And then as the movie progresses, he starts to get more of a personality because Andy is teaching him things and showing him things and trying to show him the way of the world. So Chucky is very much like a child trying to learn, the ways of the world and things like that. And funny enough, okay, so I'm trying not to give away spoilers, but funny enough is in this movie, one thing I think is kind of funny is the fact that Chucky actually learns how to kill by watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So I thought that was kind of a funny idea. Also, let's go about the funny here for a minute. Okay, that's one thing I would say that would kind of bug me about this movie is if I admit if I was sitting there watching this with somebody and this is the person who, they talked about how they hated all the comedy and the humor that was in, Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, but all the comedy in this is perfectly okay. I admit that would annoy me because I'd be like, seriously, you're going to sit here and you're going to raise hell about Bride and Seed of Chucky because of all the humor in it, but all the comedy in this is okay, because there is a lot of humor in this movie. There's a lot of funny parts. But anyway, so uh, you know, Chucky starts, out of his love and devotion for Andy. That's kind of a big difference because in the original movie, Chucky has no love or devotion for Andy. Chucky is just, a straight up killer. In this, Chucky is more of like I say, he's a robot. He has more of a devotion to Andy, and what he starts doing when he starts attacking and killing, he's doing these things because he thinks that what he's doing will please Andy and make Andy his friend and stay with him. But it doesn't exactly turn out that way. And then when Chucky, starts to feel abandoned by Andy, he starts to decide that he's going to get rid of everybody that is bothering Andy, everybody that's hurting him, or that he feels is hurting him, or keeping them apart as friends and things like that. So that's pretty much about it. I don't want to give too much more away, but ultimately, this movie it's not bad. It's really not bad. It's different, and I think that's kind of one of the things that really makes a remake work is when you make it. It's not so different that but it's different enough to be its own movie, and I think you can actually enjoy this version, and it doesn't really it doesn't cause you to betray the original franchise. I don't feel it does because it's like, okay, yeah, this is fine, and that's the way I feel about it. This movie is fine in its own way, but does it make me? Am I sitting here thinking like, oh my god, this is it? It's like, oh man, to hell with the original Child's Play movies. This is it from now on. Do I feel that way? Absolutely not. I still love the original. I still love, the sequels and things like that. And yeah, when the series comes out next year with Brad Dourif and Jennifer Tilly and all that stuff coming back, I'm gonna watch that too. So, but ultimately, this, like I said, this actually is not that bad. I mean, I don't think it's as good as the original, but it is kind of fun to watch it in its own way, and it's um, some of the acting is pretty good. Aubrey Plaza, who of course, she's more of a as a comedian, so there's a lot of humor in her character, but she does fine with what she's given. The actor who plays Mike Norris, who was played by Chris Sarandon in the original movie, was his name Brian Tyree Henry, I believe. Um, he actually did a good job. He made the character Mike Norris really good and likable, and he was actually a good follow up. His character, his detective character, is a little bit different than the original Mike Norris because Mike Norris is just kind of more like your in the original movie. Chris Sarandon played him as kind of more your typical kind of hard edged, Chicago, cop. Whereas in this movie, Mike is a little bit more. He kind of identifies with Andy in this version because he has a little bit, you know, he's a little bit of an outcast himself, and he and Andy actually sit down and have a talk about that. That it's like, yeah, he kind of knows what it feels like to be an outsider and stuff like that, and so he kind of knows what Andy's going through. But I would say though, like Mark Hamill, he really really does do a good job, and I'm glad that they got him to do the voice of Chucky in this. I don't think that. I mean, I'm sorry, I have to say he's not as good as Brad Dourif. Brad Dourif owns Chucky. I'm sorry, but I don't. But I think for me personally, I just don't think anybody was ever going to outdo Brad, and nobody ever could. Nobody ever will. But I like the fact that the whole Chucky persona in this version is different, and I like that Mark Hamill does get a chance to show off his voice acting skills. There is a little bit, you can kind of get a tiny little bit of his Joker, because everybody knows Mark Hamill did the voice of, Joker in the animated Batman series and stuff. So you kind of get a little hint of that in there. But yeah, but I mean, Mark Hamill, he does a good job, and he does make Chucky interesting in its own way. I think that was the one thing that was really, really like bothering me, was at first when I first heard the remake was coming, it was all like, oh God, it's like you're not going to get anybody to do it better than Brad did. And then when I heard Mark Hamill, it's kind of like, okay, it's like I'd like to give him a shot just to see. So he's really what piqued my interest in checking this out. Mainly, I wanted to see for him, and I got to be honest, Mark Hamill does not disappoint. He does a good job as Chucky, and but like I said, it does not take away from my love for Brad Dourif and his version of Chucky. And I still, original Chucky represent. I'll do that forever. But you know, so I mean, you could tell I'm kind of conflicted at the moment. It's like I wanted to hate this a lot more than I do, but ultimately, though, like I said, I don't hate this. This is actually a pretty decent remake. A little too much humor in my opinion, but so like I said, somebody was all like, oh, I hate all the comedy in Bride and Seed of Chucky, but all the comedy in this is okay. But so anyway, yeah, I actually say, give it a shot. If you're unsure about it, I would say maybe like Redbox it, or maybe if at some point it does come out on Netflix, maybe go for that. But ultimately, yeah, I could actually see myself watching this again, but it's not gonna. It's definitely not gonna take over the original for me. But the actor who played Andy, I think he did okay. But I do have to admit, Alex Vincent kind of, in terms of the kid actor who played Andy, I do feel Alex Vincent did have, more of a, he did have a little something over this kid. But and who plays it? Gabriel Bateman. Gabriel Bateman didn't do bad, but I'm sorry, but I still think Alex Vincent kind of had, an edge over him. But so anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much going to do it. Child's Play 2019. Like I said, I think, you know, either you're really going to hate this movie, or you might be like, it's okay, but not as good as the original. I can't really see too many people saying this is better than the original. I just can't say that, but I say check it out. Yeah, go ahead and give it a shot one time, and, like I said, you might like it, you might not, but I was surprised. I really didn't think I was going to, but turned out it was pretty good. So that's about all I got to say about it. But yeah, but don't worry. If anybody was to ask me, do you want to watch the original Child's Play? I'd be like, hell yeah, bring that shit on. I still want to watch it. So anyway, that's going to do it. So if anybody took the time to watch this video, I thank you for doing it, and I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Please like on the video, subscribe to the Body Bags channel if you haven't already. We got great guys doing, a review every day of the week. I'm the Saturday reviewer. But yeah, I mean, the guys we got, they're all doing good stuff, so, check them all out, and, so anyway, this is, Lonnie from Horror Heaven 77. Take care, and I'll see you next week.